idea most closely associated with Seymour Martin Lipset was the concept called American Exceptionalism. It's a big, big, bold idea, one that has been studied and debated since soon after the founding of our nation. American Exceptionalism is the idea that the United States of America is qualitatively different from other countries. There are a number of theme lines to the debate, and I'm sure you would imagine that with a name like American Exceptionalism, there's more than a little controversy as well. Much of the intellectual discussion illuminates key aspects of America as a culture of creative entrepreneurism, so it's a topic worth exploring. But first, let me tell you a story. It's a story of how the United States and Canada responded very differently to the introduction of the metric system when, in the 1970s, the political leaders of each country told their citizens that over the next 15 years, each nation would be going metric, with very similar plans about how this would occur, what they would do to make this happen. And in Canada now, on the King's Highway, the speed limit is marked in kilometers an hour, which is to say the Canadians did indeed do as the government told them to do. They buckled down and converted to the metric system. While in the United States, we decided that the government hadn't made its case, and so we ignored their plans, and so clear was our message of rejection that within just a couple of years, the effort was abandoned. Some wonder if the success of the plan in Canada wasn't because the Canadian culture was founded on an underlying respect and obedience of the state. They didn't demand their independence as a country. It was granted by preserving loyalty to both the British state and the monarchy, nearly 100 years after the United States had expressed its demands for freedom and independence as the revolutionary country that decided to start anew after we overthrew the state. And we've been anti-statist and disobedient and much more lawless ever since. Now that's an anecdotal illumination of the idea of American exceptionalism about this unique American character. I mentioned a bit of controversy, so let me raise it, and I hope for our purposes here, put it aside before I continue, which is that some believe American exceptionalism carries the idea that this country considers itself to be superior to other nations. I take it to mean something different, that American exceptionalism means only that we are different from other nations in a unique fashion. That difference is driven by a confluence of forces and events. As stated, we were a revolutionary nation, one that came into being with a glorious mission statement that we pursued with all of the imperfections and failures of any human endeavor, yet we pursue it still. And as Thomas Jefferson, one of the most entrepreneurially creative of our founding fathers, as Thomas Jefferson called upon every generation of Americans to lead their own revolution. And if the government wasn't overthrown, every other institution at one time or another has been reinvented. And we were a Protestant nation, determined to be as independent in our faiths as in the other aspects of our lives. And we were a frontier nation. There was always the call of adventure and riches in the great unknown, which demanded both the actual and the legendary qualities of independence and self-reliance, and the extraordinary opportunity to continually redefine ourselves individually. If we didn't want the role ascribed to us in our hometown, we could go west. And our nation had not so much an ideology as a set of creatively entrepreneurial touchstones. 5 of them are most often called upon in a discussion of American exceptionalism, and they have guided us as a compass as we went on our journeys, both personal and pioneering. One of those ideas is liberty, which is the idea that you can act and believe in accordance with your own free will. Another is egalitarianism, that the idea that all citizens should have the same political and economic and civil rights. A third idea of American exceptionalism is our commitment to individualism, the idea that stresses independence and self-reliance. A fourth idea is populism, the idea that the people of the nation are just as capable of providing leadership as any elites, if not more capable. And the final idea is laissez-faire, the idea that less government intervention in the economy is the best way to assure strong economic growth and personal freedom. The final slice of American exceptionalism is that it makes no difference where you were born. If you believe in America's mission, this commitment to these 5 ideas, and join in its enterprise, you can become American too. An Irishman can become American in a way that he could never become Japanese. a Mexican can become an American in a way that he can never become a Frenchman. So these ideas behind American exceptionalism are the ideas that have cultivated a culture of creative entrepreneurism in America, and they're principles that should be explored and studied to continue to grow the entrepreneurially creative culture of our country.